From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South, and I'm Suni Gray. Supporters of the former Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa are marching against what they see as a campaign of persecution against him. On Wednesday, the government of Ecuador recalled its ambassador in Bolivia and suspended plans to send its new ambassador to Venezuela after Presidents Evo Morales and Nicolas Maduro criticized a decision by Ecuador's National Court to order the arrest of Correa. Our correspondent Denise Herrera has the latest.
Hello, yes indeed. Supporters, close friends and lawmakers, lawyers for the Citizen Revolution movement are marching in defense and in support for ex-president of the Ecuador, Rafael Correa, who also rejected the measures taken by the courts, who ordered the preventing detention for former Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa. The court actually have asked to the Interpol the arrest and the extradition of ex-President Rafael Correa. As we know, we have to wait for the Interpol's decision. The Interpol, as we know, doesn't interfere in political issues. The people, the citizens, are now marching in defense of former president, and they describe this situation as a political persecution. That is all for now. We will keep you posted with more information as soon as we can. Back to you at the studio.
Thank you, Denise, for that report. Now, various social and political organizations are coming together to prevent what they're calling a genocide being committed against human rights defenders and social leaders in Colombia.
Social organizations have documented one by one the systematic murders against social leaders. There have been 420 homicides since 2016. Now they feel they have to rethink their actions which defend life and land.
We have thought of several things. We think about having peace territories and asking for help from international organizations because they have been the ones that have been pressuring the Colombian state.
When these social organizations met with senior officials of Juan Manuel Santos' government, the response was re-victimization by turning public opinion against them.
The response from the state's institutions is practically new, and it has been shameful because these institutions deny the genocide by the state and they ridicule the victims.
The alternative political parties believe that with the election of Iván Duque to the presidency, the violations to human rights could get worse.
We are afraid because of what happened in the 8 years of Uribe's administration in terms of human rights violations. That didn't stop in the 8 years of Santos' administration. So we, as a party and a coalition of political forces, we will fight to guarantee the life of social leaders.
In face of this new government and the current conflict situation that Colombia is living, an alternative parliamentary bloc has been created to avoid a new wave of violence.
We are preparing and promoting actions like hearings with the Ombudsman, demonstrations, and several activities to raise awareness.
The majority of the alternative senators who will take office on July 20th affirm that their work in Congress will be focused on the respect of life and fulfilling the agreements signed with now extinct guerrilla FARC. Different political parties, along with social movements, will protest on August 7th to denounce the persecution of social leaders.
Tatiana Portela, Telesur, Bogotá, Colombia.
Staying in Colombia, 7 men attacked a group of trans women in a hairdressing salon in Bogotá. According to the victims, they were chatting and having a coffee when the group of men attacked them with a screwdriver and shouted that they should leave the neighborhood or they would kill them. 549 LGBTI people were killed in Colombia between 2013 and 2017. The Brazilian general in charge of the security services in Rio de Janeiro, Walter Braga, has come out against extending the military's role in running security in the state. Social movements say that since the military were put in control by President Michel Temer, violence has increased and more innocent people have been killed. Temer said the move was justified because there was a wave of violent crime and the state of Rio wasn't doing enough to stop it. Brazil's landless workers' movement has withdrawn from a site it was occupying after the police arrived, threatening members of the Agrarian Reform Organization. Approximately 400 landless families had taken over an area belonging to the MMX group, which is owned by the businessman Enrique Batista. These same families had occupied an area on Tuesday belonging to the same group. The MST said that the police is acting to protect the interests of Hydro Mineral Capital, which carries out projects which are harmful to the Brazilian natural resources. In El Salvador, thousands of people from the National Alliance Against the Privatization of Water marched to the National Assembly, making demands for the protection of water under the General Water Law. Demonstrators want the Assembly to reject a bill presented by the right-wing Arena Party. Protesters see the law project as a covert attempt to privatize a basic right. It has become a key issue and may well play a significant role in the upcoming presidential elections due to be held in the beginning of 2019.
We are proposing that the water belongs to the state, and society must be able to participate in the discussion to manage this natural resource that is vital for the sustainability of people in El Salvador. That's why we are refusing all the strategy of the right wing, first to privatize it, and second to deceive the population, making them believe that they don't want to privatize it.
And our correspondent Ernesto Alvalso was at the protest in San Salvador.
Trade unions, women's groups, and students are marching to the National Assembly to demand that members of the Parliamentary Commission on the Environment and Climate Change do not approve a law that would privatize water in El Salvador. They will demand that 9 of the 11 members of the commission vote against the privatization. They say their struggle will continue on the streets of San Salvador to ensure that the water service in the city reaches all of the population.
In Bolivia, President Evo Morales said on Wednesday he has undergone an operation for a small tumor. On Twitter, Morales explained that the tumor was detected during a routine checkup. He says, "I'm very grateful for your solidarity, your prayers, and your blessings." The Bolivian president previously underwent surgery in Cuba to remove a benign tumor from his throat last year.
Regarding our president, he informed us that after a meeting that we had with the National Council for Change, he was having some routine medical exams that had already been planned. Those exams will continue. Now, everything is going very well. And for these new days, the president has suspended his activities. But I think that from Thursday afternoon, the president will continue his normal activities and daily activities as planned.
Venezuela is celebrating its Independence Day. Together, Minister of Defense Vladimir Padrino Lopez and the President of the National Constituent Assembly, Diosdado Cabello, marked 207 years since the proclamation of independence. The two spoke of the country's unwavering will to remain free and independent. President Nicolas Maduro offered remarks saying that Venezuela will be forever free and never again a colony. He also said that the independent spirit of Venezuela's liberators is still alive today in the men and women on the Bolivarian armed forces. Venezuela's Foreign Minister Jorge Arias arrived in South Africa, where he celebrated Venezuela's Independence Day. Arias spoke next to a monument built for the liberator Simon Bolivar in the city of Pretoria. He's in the country as part of his African tour that began in Mozambique and will end in Ghana. The foreign minister said he aims to sign several agreements and to strengthen ties with the southern nations.
We are coming to Africa to build among us a great power, taking into account the vast resources that we have, that the entire humanity needs. The region that is called to unite along with Latin America and the Caribbean in this historic moment.
We're going to take a short break now. We'll join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting. Welcome back. Time now to take a look at the latest developments ahead of the Russia 2018 World Cup quarterfinals.
Thank you, Sorini, and welcome to our Telesur Russia 2018 special World Cup coverage. I'm Jose Daniel Lopez, and here are today's headlines. And ahead of tomorrow's quarterfinal match, Brazil's national team is training in Sochi. The South American team faces Belgium. Fortunately for Brazil, striker Douglas Costa and defender Marcelo are returning to field after injuries that kept them out for the last two games. Midfielder Willian and head coach Tite talk about the strengths of their Belgian opponents.
We have lots of respect for our rival. We know much quality Belgium have. They have got great players, like I have said, so we respect them. But no matter the rival, we have to maintain our same way of playing and getting better every game, and that is what we will take into this match.
Belgium. Well, the creative power of Belgium is very strong. They have quality. It's going to be a great match. Two teams that play beautiful football with different characteristics. I'm not going to go into details. They have individual technical value. It's going to be a great match.
Tite's strategy for Brazil's national team was to make Neymar only as important as any other of his teammates. The head coach has strived to relieve the star player from the pressure placed on him by the media.
After losing the World Cup at home, Brazilian media has placed the hopes of a nation on Neymar again.
We are always hoping to be champions because we already had Pelé, Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, and now we have Neymar. That's why we expect that he plays.
Other people see him lying on the floor rather than reaching the sky, and flooded social media with memes about it.
Neymar is such a baby. He's constantly falling over. Coutinho is a real player. Paulinho plays a lot, but Neymar?
He's a very young guy with a lot of money, and sometimes that gets to your head. It's normal. Perhaps when he grows up, he will understand how life really works.
His image splits public opinion. The Folha Diary of Sao Paulo revealed that during the 2014 World Cup, Neymar had an exclusive agreement with the TV channel Globo. But during the World Cup last week, Neymar's father and Galvão Bueno arranged a meeting to calm things down after criticisms against the striker.
The wall that divides the commercial department with the editorial section doesn't exist anymore. Neymar is a figure that draws the sponsors' attention. They are the ones who own halftime broadcasting. There are no intermissions without Neymar. He's even on Sao Paulo's public transportation. That's why there is a shield that protects Neymar's image, exclusively for commercial reasons.
The question is, if his personal life affects his performance.
It's difficult for him to be part of the team, especially when he is the best player. At least, theoretically, it makes it even more difficult when all of Brazil's eyes are on him. So it's important for him to understand what it is like to be part of a team without being the outstanding one. If he truly is, he should show it, in a natural way, according to protocol on the pitch.
Tite, the technical director of the national team, managed to adapt Neymar's style to his teammates, and not the other way around. He also gave a mark, or a footprint, to the team. Now, the Brazilian team is strong. They've reached the quarterfinals and want to see Neymar holding the World Cup.
World Cup fans who are visiting Russia have also gotten the chance to learn about the country's history. In the city of Samara, Stalin's bunker has attracted thousands of visitors since the tournament began June 14. The bunker was built to withstand a direct hit from an aerial bomb and protect those inside for 5 days in an event of evacuation. The bunker was built between February and October 1992 and remained a secret to the Samara citizens until 1990, when it was found and later turned into a museum.
People come here to understand, to be inspired. It is good that former Soviet leader Joseph Stalin didn't use it, and it is interesting to people. Its mystery is attractive. People come here to touch history, To sit at the table, grab the phone and pretend they are calling home, or even Joseph Stalin himself.
You get goosebumps. You can't imagine all of that happened just here and only a few years ago. And it's a very good experience to take back to our country.
Uruguay is also preparing for the World Cup quarterfinals clash against France. The South American team has conceded just one goal. Barcelona striker Luis Suarez talked about the injuries suffered by his teammate Edison Cavani and how Uruguay can nullify the threat of 19-year-old Kylian Mbappé of France.
I know it's complicated. It's not easy when you're injured and there aren't many days for him to recover, which makes it difficult. But I know the desire, the attitude, the dedication, and the effort is there. And Edinson Cavani did everything he could to recover. But I don't think it really depends much on him either. Everybody knows Mbappe is a really good player. He's like Thierry Henry a few years ago. He's an important player for France, but I think we have a really good defense to control him. But not just one player, the entire French team.
And as Uruguay prepares to face France in the quarterfinals of the 2018 World Cup, their fans back at home are supporting their team and say they'll bring home the trophy. Crowds and flags fill public spaces, and even visiting tourists are feeling the country's football fever.
We're very sorry for Mbappé, because they're going to eat him up. Tomorrow is going to be a party. Uruguay is here for the important things.
We'll make the final. We'll make the final and then we'll be champions. If you ask me to choose, no, I don't want to be third or fourth. Us Uruguayans are not like that. We always want to win.
The quarterfinals start tomorrow with two great matches. Uruguay will play against France, which took the title in 1998. Five-time World Cup champion Brazil will face Belgium. And that's all for today's Telesur Russia 2018 headlines. Don't miss our exclusive show, De la Mano del 10, the World Cup according to Maradona, only on Telesur English. I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Back to you, Soyini.
Thank you, Jose Daniel. The CARICOM heads of government are in Montego Bay, Jamaica, for the second day of the heads of government meeting. On the first day, which was Wednesday, the leaders spoke of the importance of regional integration and implementing the single market, which will allow for free movement of skilled workers throughout the Caribbean. Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, who is also CARICOM's current chair, says the region needs to stand together against what is sometimes the unfair practice of implementing global compliance standards.
Small countries are now burdened with having to put in place systems of compliance, whether it is with the OECD, whether it is with the European Union, whether it is with the United States. But as I said earlier, our response is not to shirk from the responsibility of global compliance, but to ask for fairness and support in developing and implementing the systems. Because at the end of the day, our small economies must stand up as examples of transparency, accountability, and stand strong against any hint of corruption.
And Cuba's new president, Miguel Diaz-Canel, is in Jamaica for his first official visit to the island. He is there as the special guest of CARICOM and will meet with the regional heads during the three-day conference. He also had time for an official meeting with the Prime Minister of Jamaica and the current chair of CARICOM, Andrew Holness. The Bahamian government has announced that they will no longer host the IAAF World Relays in August 2019. The official reason being that the cost of hosting the international tournament was too high. The projected budget was $5 million to host the international meet. It's also being reported that the president of the Bahamas Association of Athletic Organizations had suggested that Jamaica would make perfect host for the tournament. So for more on this, we go to the journalist Terry Finisterre, who's in St. Lucia, for the details on this sudden development. Hi, Terry. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Sonia. A pleasure.
Now,
Thanks,
tell me, is this decision a surprise, or had there been rumblings that the Bahamas wasn't too interested in hosting the World Relays?
Well, there have been rumblings that the Bahamas were looking to pull out after hosting in 2019. Of course, the Bahamas had elections, general elections last year, and had a change of government. And there have been rumblings that there's been some uncertainty within the ranks of government that they should persist as hosts, as permanent hosts, as it were, of the World Relays. So the thinking had been that the Bahamas would have pulled out after 2019, but from all appearances, it seems that will no longer be the case and that they may not even host 2019.
Now, you had mentioned on your Twitter account, the IAAF still has the Bahamas listed as a host. How difficult would it be for the international organization to find a new location? And I understand Jamaica's name has been bandied about.
Well, Jamaica has come up, and in fact, in the wake of the report being circulated today, there have been people in the U.S. and Jamaica talking about, let's go get it, because it is a very popular event. The former president of the IAAF, Lamin Diak, was a big fan, and so too is the present President Lord Sebastian Coe. It's a fan-friendly event. People love it. It gets people involved. The end of every track meet is relays, and people love their relays. So it is something that we expect that is going to be very much sought after. It could be the United States. It could be Jamaica filling the void. If it does come down to that, I think it is going to be something that we would want to keep within the Caribbean. And I'm sure that Jamaica, who have been in talks with regard to the World Under-20 Championships, possibly. We've heard their sports minister talking about possibly hosting that meet. Certainly they would want to be in the mix if it comes down to hosting something like the World Relays.
Now, Bahamas has a tourist-based economy. If the IAAF is such a popular event and it's something that we would want to keep in a tourism-based country and in the Caribbean, why don't they want to host it?
Well, the thinking for several months now has been that the expense associated with being recurrent hosts of the IAAF World Championships. I mean, when they first started discussing it in 2013, and they started discussing the possibility of having such an event, they were projecting costs between $3 and $5 million per annum, and that has been somewhere in the vicinity: $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, $6 million. So it's been, generally speaking, between $4 and $6 million to host the first four editions of the first three editions rather of the meet. But the projection that we've been hearing from the Bahamas for 2019 has been somewhere closer to $10 million. If you will recall, the Bahamas was of course affected by the passage of Hurricane Irma last year, so that was a big hit for them in terms of the economy. There's also the fact that we don't know what the exact revenue share has been between the Bahamas and the IAAF, certainly in terms of ad sales and so on. We know that it has been broadcast in over 200 countries, which obviously is a big deal for a nation like the Bahamas. The Bahamas have been very friendly hosts. They stepped in to host the Carifta Games this year. They hosted the Commonwealth Youth Games last year at relatively short notice. And of course, they hosted the FIFA World Beach Football Championships last year as well. So they have been good hosts, and they've really enjoyed and innovated for the IAAF World Relays. A number of those innovations carrying over into a number of other IAAF events as well, in terms of the introductions and so on. So they've done well. But I think it just comes down to the cost of being recurrent hosts as opposed to doing a one-off event.
Thank you so much, Terry Finiste. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We've been speaking to the sports journalist, Terry Finiste, who's based in St. Lucia, where we are talking about the sudden cancellation of the IAAF World Relays in the Bahamas for August 2019. On to Syria now, where the armed rebels in the city of Basra, which is east of Dara, conceded defeat by handing over their artillery to the Syrian Arab Army as part of reconciliation efforts. The Syrian Arab Army has seized a large number of weapons and engineering equipment held by rebels in villages around the northeast countryside of Dara and has now declared the area to be liberated. There continues to be an increase in the number of villages joining the reconciliation efforts. And the Trump administration has rescinded an extensive set of guidelines put in place under President Barack Obama that had called on colleges and universities to consider race as a way of promoting diversity. The move, in effect, brings the federal government's position on affirmative action close to that of the George W. Bush's administration. Under Bush, the federal government had it that race could be considered only if a university had no other way of achieving a diverse student class. Spain celebrated its 2018 Gay Pride festivities in style with people wearing stilettos, wedges and colorful costumes when they took part in a high-heel race through Madrid. People from all over the world flocked to the event using rolls of sticky tape to secure their shoes to their feet before running through Madrid's gay neighborhood of Chuca. Participants spoke of their joy to take part and the freedom to be as they want to be. Well, that brings us to the end of this news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website at tellusyourtv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Tell Us Your English, I'm Sunny Gray. Thank you so much for watching.
Me gustaría tener un mundo